Good evening. This is the school board meeting for Plainfield Community Consolidated School District 202. And, wow, Angie, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Galan,
Here.
Mr. Kalantzis,
Present.
Dr. Baxter.
Here.
Ms. Marillo. Ms. Seiden.
Here.
Ms. Roach.
Here. So, first thing on the agenda is 1.03 agenda revisions. Dr. Wood, are there any agenda revisions?
No.
All right, and then, so the next thing is that we'll be going into closed session. So I'll need a motion to go into closed session for the purposes of
Personnel, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the school district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or school district to determine its validity. 1.06, student discipline. 1.07, site acquisition, the purchase or lease of real property or the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired.
Motion?
second. All right, so that was Ms. Braun's motion and Ms. Seiden's second. Can you please call the attendance roll or the voting roll?
Ms. Galan,
Yes.
Mr. Kalantzis,
Yes.
Dr. Baxter,
Yes.
Ms. Seiden,
Yes.
Ms. Roach.
Yes, motion carries. So we are now in closed session. Just waiting for one board member. All right, so we are reconvening, the open session of the June 12th, 2023 school board meeting of District 202. Angie, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Morelos,
Here.
Ms. Seiden,
Here.
Ms. Gillon,
Here.
Dr. Baxter,
Here.
Mr. Calensis,
Present.
Ms. Roach.
Here. With that, if you would please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is to your left along the wall.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so, move down to section 3, communications. Any communications? So, good evening, everyone. Summer school programming is underway in District 202, as is the extended school year and bilingual summer school, which began this week, joining our high school and middle school programs that began last week. Next year, an additional 11 elementary and middle schools will receive free breakfast and lunch thanks to the USDA community eligibility provision. District 202 schools experience a wide range in income diversity, and this federal program helps to ensure that families in need do not worry about how their students will be able to afford to eat during the school day. Currently, Creekside, Lakewood Falls, and Plainfield Academy are already in the program and will continue to receive both breakfast and lunch in the future. The following 14 schools will receive meals in school year 2023 and 2024. That includes Bonnie McFadden Learning Center, Charles Reed Elementary School, Creekside Elementary School, Crystal Lawns Elementary School, Grand Prairie Elementary School, Lakewood Falls Elementary School, Meadowview Elementary School, Plainfield Academy, Riverview Elementary School, Thomas Jefferson Elementary School, Westmere Elementary School, Aux Sable Middle School, Indian Trail Middle School, Timber Ridge Middle School. All students in these schools are entitled to receive a free breakfast and lunch each school day as long as District 202 and its food service contractor Aramark continue to comply with government requirements. The free student meals are not individualized. Students get 2 choices at the elementary level and at least 3 choices at the middle and high school level. All students with allergies or dietary restrictions must review the menu and ingredients with their parents and know what items they should or should not consume. 13 District 202 middle school students were named finalists in the Three Rivers Educational Partnership poster contest. In total, 79 middle school and high school students across the Three Rivers region were recognized in the 7th annual contest. The goal of this contest is to nurture a safety mindset in the students. Students created posters that focused on recognizing and eliminating safety hazards in their home and school or during extracurricular activities. This year's topics included fire safety, internet safety, stranger danger, and social media safety. 3 202 middle school students were named finalists in this contest. From Droughton Point Middle School, Omar Arez Jr., an 8th grader. From Heritage Grove Middle School, Louisa Savazzini, a 6th grader. Kasha Praturi, a 6th grader. And Janani, I apologize if I'm going to misspell this, or misspeak this, Bella Youtham, also a 6th grader. Nathan DeGuzman, a 6th grader, and Isabel Yu, a 6th grader. From Timber Ridge Middle School, Gavin Furlane, an 8th grader, Anthony Battaglia, an 8th grader, Kason Melling, a 6th grader, Jonah Orlando, a 6th grader, Kaylee Thornton, a 6th grader, Audrey Penn, a 6th grader, and Madeline Lux, a 6th grader. Finally, we'd like to recognize Rebecca Young, a learning specialist and instructional technology coach at Aux Sable Middle School, who recently earned her International Society of Technology in Education, or ISTE certification. Ms. Young is one of fewer than 2,000 ISTE certified educators in the world. This certification means Ms. Young not only knows how to use technology in the classroom, but she uses that technology to increase student engagement and achievement. Congratulations, Becky. That is it for the board, or for the president comments. We'll move on to recognitions, 4.01. Are there any board salutes?
I would love to salute all of the teachers, aides, and coaches that have signed up and are taking part in our summer programming. That's always just a wonderful way to keep our students on track, bring some of our students who are going into new programs up to date, as well as to keep our athletics at their prime. So thank you to all those who are giving up part of their summer to that.
I'd like to recognize all of the middle school graduations that we attended and give everyone extra bonus points for coming close to freezing to death. That was a cold night, but very nice program.
I'd like to give a shout out to the Girl Scout Troop 75603, which is led by 3 moms, Laura Hamilton, Michelle Colby, and Kat Chow. The Girl Scouts made a mini library. It's a where kids can come and get books. The girls learned how to use machine tools. One of the dads was nice enough to have a bunch of 10 and 11-year-olds learn how to use machine tools. And they really did a nice job, and they ended up painting it, and it's going to be going through. And also a shout out to the principal for assisting Trevor Harris. So great job, girls.
And I had one, I just want to thank our sign language interpreter, Chris, who's been joining us for meetings for quite some time. I hope that really has helped eliminate a barrier for some of our families and community members. And I'd like to commend her on how fast she's able to have a conversation when we're rapid firing questions or unexpected things come about. We really appreciate you and the work that you do. Thank you.
4.02, do we have any special welcomes or recognition? No? Okay. Then we're at section 5, public comment. I have one person listed, Michael Jacoby.
I'm Dr. Michael Jacoby. I'm the Executive Director of the Illinois Association of School Business Officials. And I'm here for two reasons tonight. One is to recognize the work that Tony has done on the Board of Directors for the last 3 years. And secondly, to thank the district also for allowing Tony to have that opportunity, because it does take time and sometimes time away from the district to do that. But Tony was selected by his peers to be a part of our board of directors and help us lead a statewide organization. That is an acknowledgement even in and of itself. But also Tony excelled on our board of directors in a really great way. Especially voice for, also a voice for public education across the state. And we come to make this kind of a recommendation or recognition. We don't come empty-handed. Our foundation, which is totally funded by individual member contribution, also comes to honor Tony and the district by making a donation to the Plainfield District Foundation for Excellence. And so that donation tonight is in the amount of $500, and I'd like to present that. Tony, you want to come up here? I'll give you a handshake. And you can deliver it to the best person on that. So
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on then to section 6, our consent agenda. I would like to call for a motion for 6.01, the approval of policies that have been placed on 30-day public display, including policy 4:60, purchasing contracts, policy 5:30, hiring process and criteria, policy 5:90, abused and neglected child reporting, policy 5:150, personnel records, and policy 5:260, student teachers. 6.02, the approval of regular session minutes of May 22nd, 2023. 6.03, the approval of the certified personnel agenda. And 6.04, the approval of the non-certified personnel agenda.
Motion?
Second.
Tony's motion and Kathy's second. Is there any discussion? Okay, Angie, go ahead.
Ms. Sidon,
Yes.
Ms. Gillon,
Yes.
Ms. Morelos,
Yes.
Mr. Calances,
Yes.
Dr. Baxter.
Yes.
Ms. Roach.
Yes. And with that, I would like to welcome Sherry Moss as the next principal of Grand Prairie Elementary School. Mrs. Moss comes to District 202 from Ottawa Elementary School, where she is currently the principal. She also was principal at Moreland Public Schools and was a teacher for 6 years before that. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Moss. Section 7, for action other. 7.01, student discipline, student A. Barb?
It is my motion to approve the administrative recommendation for student A to be alternatively placed for all of the 2023-2024 school year and the 2024-2025 school year. This includes exclusion from end of the year activities.
Okay, Barb's motion, is there a second?
Second.
Just end of the year activities?
No.
All right, so Barb's motion, Ellie's second, is there any discussion? No? Okay, go ahead and call the roll.
Dr. Baxter,
Yes.
Mr. Calances,
Yes.
Ms. Morelos,
Yes.
Ms. Sidon,
No.
Ms. Gillon,
No.
Ms. Roach.
Yes, motion carried. 7.02, I am looking for a motion for the approval of the 2023-2024 high school graduations to be held on Saturday, May 18th, 2024 at 10 a.m. In the event of inclement weather, makeup date will be Sunday, May 19th, 2024 at 1 p.m.
Motion?
Tony's motion,
Second.
Barb's second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Calancis,
Yes.
Ms. Morello,
Yes.
Ms. Simon,
Yes.
Ms. Gillon,
Yes.
Dr. Baxter.
Yes.
Ms. Roach.
Yes, motion carries. 7.03, I am looking for a motion for the approval of the 2023-2024 promotion dates and times. All promotions will be held on Monday, May 20th, 2024 as follows. At Plainfield East High School, John F. Kennedy at 7 p.m. At Plainfield North High School, Ira Jones at 7:30 p.m. and Heritage Grove at 5:30 p.m. At Plainfield South High School, Droughton Point at 7:30 p.m. and Aux Sable at 5:30 p.m. At Plainfield High School Central Campus, Indian Trail at 7:30 p.m. and Timber Ridge at 5:30 p.m. In the event of inclement weather, makeup date will be Tuesday, May 21st, 2021. Or 2024, I apologize.
And so moved.
Kathy's motion,
Second?
Tony's second. Is there any discussion?
Just one point, do want to recognize Board Member Galan. We had talked about flipping the dates in order to create equity, so the same school doesn't always start at 5:30 throughout the years. And so in recognition of that, we had put out an initial one that didn't do that. So we did flip these dates. So these are different than this past year in order so families have equal opportunity throughout the years.
All right, Brian.
Ms. Morelos,
Yes.
Ms. Simon,
Yes.
Ms. Gillon,
Yes.
Dr. Baxter,
Yes.
Mr. Calancis,
Yes.
Ms. Roach.
Yes, motion carries. All right, section 8 for information. I do not believe we have an intergovernmental liaison report or a Board of Education report, so that leads us to 8.03, our strategic plan update.
Yep, and so every quarter we give updates on our strategic plan. So then we did one in March before. This is a June update on our strategic plan. Just a few things as we go through it. So this is just a visual of our strategy. Basically, we get a vision, mission, values. We determine a strategic plan. All these little steps are what we do to implement the plan. That's listed. Remember, the plan is on the website. If you go to the website, you click on announcements, you can click that upper left link to get to the plan that way. There's a brochure. If you remember, if you go to the website, you click, you can review the brochure if you want to. Every goal has different points that are attached to it as well. So we have a number of areas based on department. Every goal area has a number that's how we report out, do our progress. This dashboard, this is what you click on when you get to the website. Starting in July, this is going to be the complete home of everything of our plan. We've done a little bit of transition, so we do some PowerPoints tonight, but eventually everything will be here. It's real close now. Remember, there's a data dashboard on there for individuals around indicators of success. The progress tab, which is this tab here, this is where, like, we're doing PowerPoints now. Eventually, we'll report out using the strategy tab that's listed. It's just not completely completed at this time. It's pretty close. And so really what we want to do is just give an update for each of our departments on the progress on our plan, both what's happened this year and in the past, and then moving to the future. So I'm going to turn it over to our assistant superintendent.
Starting with administration and personnel. So we have two goals, and just so you know, these goals came out of the strategic planning that we had in October. So goal number 1 had a top priority, which was create a competitive employment package to recruit and retain staff. So we've implemented a grow your own teacher and career pathway for all categories of employees. So just to highlight some of the programs that we have a future educator program. So we're 2 years into that, and this is the program where we, our department, the directors and myself visit all 4 high schools and Wilco of the students who are in early childhood classes. And we want to strive to hire former students as future educators as they finish college. We have found that when that people usually work within 30 miles of where they live. And so if they come home back to Plainfield to live with mom and dad, then chances are they're within our boundaries and we could look to hire them. So that's one of the programs. So the students that are sophomores or freshmen in college, we actually just sent them an email. We have a whole database to stay connected. The second one is a Future Leaders Program. We're 5 years into this program. It's a cohort of teachers and assistant principals who are interested in pursuing administration. So this is a way for us to grow our own and fill some administrative positions. And so this program is usually a book study and presentations from district office administration just to talk about our experiences and answer any questions. This is a new one. The next one is partnered with National Louis University. This is an alternative education license opportunity for our paraprofessionals. So paraprofessionals who have a bachelor's degree, who are excelling in the classroom as a paraprofessional and recommended by administration to be in this program. So this is to help fill the void of our special education teaching. We are finding that it is hard to fill. So this year we have 4 paraprofessionals and 1 substitute teacher who have passed the content test. They are currently doing the summer programming. Upon completion of that, they will be teacher of record starting in the 23-24 school year. So that will help fill some of those vacancies and give them an opportunity to work for their Pell license. This will also be an opportunity for us to attract paraprofessionals to our district to let them know that we do have this opportunity after 1 year of service if they meet the requirements. The next one is partnered with Lewis University. We currently have 11 teachers. These 11 teachers went through the Future Leaders program, and they are now pursuing their principalship. We also have our directors actually teach the courses. So Laura Lee taught a course, and Scott Fink taught a couple courses. He's teaching one now. So we do have teachers pursuing administration. The next step is to do an exit survey. So upon any resignation and upon any retirement, I send a personal letter to each of the employees thanking them and asking them to take a moment to fill out an exit survey. We right now have 39 responses of 94 people that have gotten the emails. I haven't looked at it this week, so maybe we'll have some more. But we will look at this information in August to kind of analyze what's working well in the district and maybe some recommendations for what we can do different. The next is partnering with local state universities. Craig Brown, the director of high school, does a really nice job. He's really the liaison between our department and universities. We have National Louis University with the alternative ed. They're also wanting to create a cohort of teachers to go into administration. So they're looking to create a first cohort for teachers. And then this is a new one with the DuPage ROE. They have a bridge program for our assistant principals, an opportunity to create a mentor program to help build them and support them to be principals. And then, of course, the job fairs. We really lean on the universities. We go to all of the job fairs. They usually start in February or March for us to try to, fill some of our positions through the universities. We also have Future Focus. So we are still looking in the fall of 2023. We're going to look at completing a compensation study of comparable districts, including salary, benefits, tuition reimbursement, flexible absences, and work schedules. And then based on this information, it'll allow us to establish competitive benchmarks to consider to modify the employment package. So this is a future focus under this goal. And then we also have a stay survey that we will be giving out to some of the employees in October. So you see some of these deadlines are very fluid. It is a 5-year plan, so we will continue to work through this goal. So our second goal is this one we are still working on. This is more of a future focus to develop a valued staff community that is respected and has the voice. So this goal, we will start the action items in the fall. We have started to collect some data. So we are going to regularly conduct employee morale and engagement surveys. And so we are looking at the current 5 essentials. We got the 5 essential survey. We're looking at comparing it from last year to this year. We also will look at this exit survey, and we are going to create a stay survey. So we will look at all of these data points to determine what we need to do in this area. And then we are going to create and implement a formal recognition program. So we're going to start this in the summer of 2023. We're going to start exploring ways that we can have more of a recognition to look for full implementation in the spring of 2024. Then we are going to bring awareness to staff on existing opportunities that give them a voice in the decision making. We want our staff to have a voice in some of the decision making process. And then we're going to create development, professional development related to relationship development, which fosters positive school environment. So we are again reviewing the 5 essentials, and we will work on creating the PD based on all of these data. So goal number 2 is a work in progress. We really focused our work on goal number 1.
Can I ask a question? And I just thought of this, so if you need time to answer.
Okay.
For the 5 essentials survey, did we have enough people participate where all buildings were able to get the results? I know they have to hit a certain threshold, and some buildings were begging parents and community members to please, please, please.
I have not looked through all of that yet, so we are still digging through. But we do have a report, for all of us.
I would just like to say that not only am I very impressed with the progress that your department has made, but this is really the way you're reporting it. It's very easy on the eyes, easy on the brain. Thank you.
Student services, we'll go Nina.
So our goal is goals 7 and 8. When you look at the full strategic plan, each goal is numbered. And underneath the goal are the points that are underneath it. So goal 7 is to expand the student profile and indicators of success. So when you look at the bullets underneath it, the first one really starts at researching the district graduate profile. So what do we want to see our students lead with? Do we want them to be future thinkers? Do we want them to be innovative? So we did start by researching other districts' profiles. The next steps would really be working with our community relations department to survey our students and our families and our staff to get feedback on what the community wants to see our students leave the district with. So that one has just been implemented. The second one was promoting and empowering a collaborative culture by engaging everyone in the decision-making process. When we went through the strategic planning process, the group that we worked with was really interested in getting feedback from our students, from our staff, from our parents as well. So from the Student Services Department, we started with our focus on the 18 to 22 program. So this is a 5-year plan. We started by getting feedback from students and or parents of students who graduated last school year. So there was a specific number that we were required to gather information from the state. But we are actually reaching out to all of our students that graduated last year that had an IEP that were anywhere between 18 and 22 years old. The survey really looks at what are they doing now after graduation? Are they employed? Have they sought future education opportunities? Really looking at what can we do as a district to support our students in building those skills to become productive members of society. We also got feedback from our Special Ed Parent Advisory Committee, our CPAC group. They gave us feedback on ways that we can provide training to our parents. We did have 2 successful events. Each event had more and more families participate in that. There were a few opportunities that we wanted to get on the books for this year and we were unable to, so they will go to next year. But beyond those opportunities, they also gave us feedback on what we can do to improve as a district. So some of the things they talked about are ways that we can involve our students more in the school. So ways that we can encourage students to participate in events like prom and homecoming and sports. So that was a great partnership and looking forward to continuing that for next year. The other thing is through our PPCN, so our Plainfield Parent Community Network, we get feedback each time we have a presentation on how did the presentation go and what are the topics that we can have in the future. So those 2 groups, they really plan the professional development and the training that we provide. The topics come from the community members and the parents that participate, and that helps to grow the training for the next school year. The other thing that we do every year that's not reflected on this slide is we do gather feedback from our staff. And so through CNI and Student Services, we did survey all of our certified staff to get feedback on professional development that was offered this year, professional development that's needed for next year to really help us develop our PD plan for the upcoming school year. So the next one was really looking at examining student experiences, interests, and passions to ensure that their needs are being met. So one of the first things that we did this year is we added some questions to our panorama survey to really look at race, ethnicity, and culture. Those were questions that we had not previously included in our survey, really wanting to get student feedback on how do they feel included, do they feel accepted. There were only a few questions added this year. The goal next year is to add additional questions as well. The questions that were added are questions that were normed. So we know that there had been surveys before. These are nationally normed questions that were put out by Panorama. So we were either able to get the feedback from our students. The other thing is we talked about gathering feedback from our teachers and students on our 18 to 22 program to look at what resources do we need to support our students. And the next step in that is really analyzing the data that we received, specifically in ethnicity and diversity. So this is this bullet is really one that we work between CNI, Cindy Castanon, as well as Student Services to gather that feedback. The last one is looking to develop a district culture and environment that develops the full range of students' learning capacities and supports a culturally proficient student. So when we gathered that feedback from our students, our SEL committee really looked to analyze the data. We have a district SEL team as well as building SEL teams. And this year what we did was we looked at the data to determine the next steps in how to use the data to support our students. This year we did provide professional development to our teachers on how to use that data. So the data is really not useful if you don't use it. And what we found was really only the SEL teams were looking at it. That's our social emotional learning teams. And so we really needed to expand it because all of our teachers have access to the survey results as well as our administrators. So we did provide professional development at the beginning of the year. That'll continue into next year as well. The last thing that we really looked at was, and we're excited to move forward with, was we created a bilingual special education program for elementary. As you know, that was approved and the curriculum resource was approved for display last month. Hopefully it will be on for approval at the next committee, but that will be moving forward in the next school year. So the first one was really looking at getting feedback from our students, our staff, and our families. This one is now that we've got that feedback, how do we create a wide range of educational opportunities? So get the feedback, and now what do we do with that? So the first one you'll see is updating our MTSS. So that's our multi-tier systems of support for students. This is a goal that we really partner with curriculum instruction on. Michelle Imbordino has established an instructional best practices committee. So when we talk about tiers of support for students, the first thing we need to make sure is our core providing the adequate support for our students and for our staff as well. And so that's what that instructional best practices committee looked at. That really took place over the course of this year. Next year, what we're seeing is that we will be providing professional development to all of our staff in the building and our administrators on that instructional best practices, and that'll take place throughout the school year. Again, that's something that we've been working on between both departments. The second one is evaluating our current social emotional learning program. So one thing that our district social emotional learning committee did was they researched what are other districts doing and how are they supporting SEL, not just at elementary, but at middle school and high school as well. As you know, a lot of our supports went to elementary, and our committee is really focusing on what can we do to support our middle school students as well as our high school students. The other thing that they did was they analyzed that data to look at student trends and where do we need to support our students in order to put in support, more targeted support next school year. The next one was really looking at educational opportunities to ensure student success. So one thing that we are excited about is we did expand participation in clubs, activities, and athletics to support students with a variety of needs. So next year we will be offering Special Olympics at our third high school. Currently it's at South and East. Next year it will be at Plainfield North. We're also expanding it to be offered at our middle schools as well. The other thing we looked at was increasing participation of our students in those school-based activities, really partnering with parents to let them know how we can support their students when they attend those events. The next thing we are looking at is expanding our course and job opportunities for our 18 to 22-year-old. So last month, we had a presentation on our 18 to 22 program, so I'm not going to go too in-depth on that one here. The next one was really looking at restorative practices. We did have restorative practices, professional development for all of our administrators. Next year, that professional development will go to each of our buildings, and there will be quarterly professional development on restorative practices. So if you're not familiar with that, it's really looking at when there is an incident between either two students or between students and two staff members. It's not looking at getting rid of a consequence. Students may still receive a consequence, but it's what do we do afterwards? How does the student know, how did what I do impact the other students? How do I repair that relationship now, either between that student or between the teacher and the student where we just had that conflict? And so restorative practices really gets to the heart of why did this incident happen and what can we do to ensure that it doesn't happen the next time? And how can we fix that relationship so there's not that tension between the people that it occurred with? So that'll be expanded next year. And then there was a year 3 focus this year on cultural competency for our teachers, our new teachers that were in their 3rd year. Cindy Castanon provided a focus on cultural competency. The last one, we talked about Special Olympics, but the other thing I really wanted to focus on was for health services. Christina Edwards has done an excellent job in building connections with the health and wellness community. We've actually had now 3 wellness events for our families that offered free immunizations, physicals, free dental visits, free vision and hearing exams to families in our community. So there was an event that took place earlier this spring. There was one that's taking place this weekend. And there's 2 more events that are coming up. So we've partnered with Miles for Smiles. We've partnered with Ronald McDonald House. We've partnered with Will County Health Department to set aside days that's just for our community to be able to go to the health department and know I'm going to get an appointment and I can get free immunizations or low cost immunizations or physical. So she's done a really great job building those connections. The next slide I'm not going to go into detail with because I talked about it as I was going along with the other slides, which is really just looking at that future focus.
On 7.01 is when you were describing the details of who you're speaking to. Is there any thoughts about also looking at colleges and employers to get feedback on what they would like to see our students looking?
That's definitely something that we could add.
For example, I know California, the recent graduates who are going to California schools were all struggling to make sure that they had fine arts, which is something that in the Midwest our schools haven't worried about yet, but obviously a change to the environment over what.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Curriculum instruction, Paula?
Yep. So curriculum and instruction, I will cover the curriculum and instruction, and I will also cover technology. So for goal number 9, we have provide equal and additional 6 through 12 course selection opportunities to better prepare our students for college and careers. The work that has started is to begin to explore the impact, the costs, and the feasibility of the high school 8-period day. And we use that term loosely, the 8-period day, because through the research that we've done so far this year, what we've noticed is we actually have schools around us that have a 9-period day. We actually have schools around us that have flexible schedules. So it really ties in 9.1 and 9.4 tie in together in the research that we've done so far. So out of CNI around the 8-period day, we have had a handful of meetings with different groups, but primarily at this point, district office and administrators at the building level. Kate Morris, who is our incoming high school director, will lead this along with Craig Brown, who is our director in A&P for high school. And obviously, I'm sure Tim Alvarez will support out of student services. I think one of the things with all of our goals that you'll start to see is that there's a collaboration between all the departments to ensure that we bring these to fruition and that we are, responsible in that process. So exploring the impact, the cost, and the feasibility of the 8-period day is really falling under the umbrella of what many of the goals out of this area come under, which is expanding opportunities for students. So that second one is expanding access to the 612 course offerings to create both equity and to increase opportunity. So what that means is really taking very close look at the courses that we're offering 6 through 12, if we're meeting the needs of our students, and are we meeting the needs of our students under the lens of equity across our buildings. So for example, when you look at some of our upper level courses, some of our dual credit courses or some of our AP courses, they might run in one high school and not run in another high school. Our philosophy has always been, if we have a teacher that's certified to teach it, let's run the class. But that doesn't always happen in every building. So what can we do within a system to make it accessible to the students that might be in another building? And with the world of technology now and how that's evolving, it's really opening some doors for us to really use that equity lens and make sure that we are offering those opportunities. Another piece to that is looking at your upper level courses and taking a look at who's actually sitting in those courses. And are we missing any groups of students represented in the AP and the dual credit courses or in the CTE courses? So really look at what we offer grade through 12th grade and really just expand those opportunities for students. We're also taking a look at learning pathways, and you'll see the term pathways throughout the plan. And what that basically means is, do we have a strategic way in which a student has an interest when they're in middle school, that interest can come to fruition at the end of high school, that they've taken a series of sequential courses, that at the end of high school, when they graduate, they're not just leaving us with a diploma, but they're leaving us perhaps with a certification. It's a certification that they can take immediately into the workforce for our students that are not continuing their education. It could be a certification that our students can take into or be a part of if they're going in the junior college route. And also some experience and perhaps internship opportunity for our students that are going on to four-year colleges. So really taking a look at the course offerings and not keeping ourselves in a box that the only thing that we want them to graduate is with a diploma, but opening up that world and saying what else can our kids have in their hands as they're walking out that are going to help them when they enter the real world. So really looking at those pathways. The State Board of Education has a list of different sequences of pathways. This year, under the direction of our high school director and our building administrators, we applied for 2 of our pathways already. The state of Illinois has said that they want us to have at least 1 in place by the fall of 2024, and we will have 2 in place this fall, providing they are approved over the summer. The timeline from the state, we're not in a hurry, we're ahead of schedule. So the focus for next year, we'll also start to research what the information technology pathway looks like. Laura Weed and I visited another high school and we took a look at a pathway that they already had in place where they had internships available for students, internships within the school, within technology. So we're researching that in collaboration with the technology department to see if we can put something like that into place here at Plainfield where our kiddos can get hands-on, real-world life experience in an area that might interest them in technology. We're also focusing next year on manufacturing, engineering, technology, and the trades pathway. So that really is a plethora of areas if you think about that. But we really look at the environment around us, around Plainfield. We can meet those needs in every one of those areas with the businesses that are in our area. So tapping into the local businesses and starting to make those connections so that our students can have opportunities to real world environments. I spoke to the flexible scheduling, and then 9.5 is systemizing and improving our communication with our families around the academic programs and the course offerings. We have many conversations where a parent might say, but I just didn't know, or how was I supposed to get that information, or where did that information come from? We live in an age of information overload. So really taking a look at how do we communicate with our families, and is it the most effective way for us to do that out of the academic lens? What's happening in school? What do all of the classes encompass? So everything around that academic communication. Obviously we'll partner with our communication department on that, but it's really also prioritizing what needs to be communicated, and not only how do we communicate it, but are we making sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our families? If we only ever are always communicating in English, we're missing a big population of our community in Plainfield. So really just making sure, just ensuring that our communication is clear, it's concise, and we prioritize what needs to go out from the world of curriculum and instruction. So that really ties into, ties our goal number 9 together. That completion timeline really says 25 through 28, really looking at the next 3 years of doing some substantial work. And the thing with curriculum and instruction, as you guys know, it's very cyclical. It never really has a solid ending. So while we had some solid endings, the high school 8-period day has to have a hard ending. But the rest of that is very ongoing because you're constantly improving what you do. Any questions on this goal?
Not a question, a comment.
Yes.
When you talked about the access to different course offerings and how, like, if you have a teacher, you run the course, you referenced high school, but I know there's ongoing disparities across the middle schools with the encore classes
Yep.
that are offered. So it would be nice if that could be included as well.
Will be a good suggestion. Okay, our next goal is goal number 10. That's improving the core instruction by providing real life experiences, applications, and pathways to learning. We are working with student services between CNI and student services to provide a professional development plan at the beginning of the year for our teachers and for our building administrators so that they know all of the professional development that's coming their way. Sometimes just the timeliness of how we provide that information. Our teachers said we need it sooner, or we need it to be sequential, or in the surveys, we ask them, what is your preferred mode? Is it face-to-face? Is it in person? Do you like to do professional development just at your building with your staff? Do you like the large group with the rest of the district? Do you like it online? So we have that feedback from our teachers, and the answer is they like every little bit of how we do it, just depending on who our teachers are. So really, that's how we respond. We'll do some in-person small group, we'll do some large group, we'll do some online, we'll do some in the summer, we'll do some in the evening. So we're really, between the two departments, have a very heavy schedule of professional development for next year. And also just letting our teachers and letting our building administrators know in advance, this is the professional development that you are going to be required to present at your building, because there are some pieces that respond to what the school code tells us we have to also ensure our teachers are engaged with. Looking at those learning pathways, again, I've spoken to that already. Embedding 10.3, embedding the real life experiences and applications into our curriculum. What that means is giving our students the opportunity to be out in the community, to have work internships built into their coursework locally and within our school district. The P-STEP did an amazing presentation at Curriculum and Tech the other week, and we talked about what opportunities we have for our 18 to 22-year-old students. And really taking that model, that can work with the gen ed population too. So really just kind of learning from each other, what do they do really well in student services that we can model for our gen ed students, and and vice versa. So really taking a look at that. Evaluating our opportunities in honors, gifted, and accelerated programming. We do that annually because the school code changes in terms of what you are required to do with accelerated programming and honors and gifted programming. So continuing to do that, and again, taking a look at who are our students in those programs. That 10.5, we're going back to schedules, but taking a look what we do in the elementary level with our instructional minutes, and just taking a look at what does the research tell us that we need to be doing? Are we aligned with the research? Do we need to tweak it because that research changes over time? So really just taking a look at that and looking at those content area minutes. That is the second goal that's going to be overseen by curriculum instruction. Any questions on that?
Not a question, just a comment that, my passion is that evaluating the opportunities and the gifted access. So I'm really excited that that's on the radar and the work that you'll be doing towards that. So thank you.
Yep, thank you. Our next goal is out of technology. Curriculum instruction partners with technology, so that's why I'm speaking to it this evening. We're really taking a look at our technology pathways. How does technology support our balanced assessment system? So, for example, the SAT next year is going to be 100% online. So our students, all of our students will be sitting for the SAT at the same time, and everybody's going to be on a device taking that test. The test has changed. It's now an adaptive assessment. So there are so many pieces to the changes. So what we need to do as a district is ensure that our technology can support that. So we're looking at our hardware, we're looking at our devices, we're looking at, Ryan, promising me, Paula, this is going to work, but really just going through every piece because this is something we cannot get wrong, right?
So that would be an example of how we're tying technology to our balanced assessment. We're currently doing a mastery manager study. Mastery managers where we house our data for all of our outcome assessments and our common assessments throughout the district. So we're doing a study of that this year to ensure that A, we're using it, B, we're using it with fidelity, and C, what we're paying for it is we're getting the bang for our buck. So we're exploring other vendors, but we're really taking a look at this commitment to Mastery Manager. We introduced it prior to COVID. It was a little loosey-goosey during COVID, and now we're kind of reining it all back in again. Not uncommon across other districts. This is not unique to Plainfield. So that's a study that we're doing, using the technology for our local and our state assessments, and just really taking a look at the efficiency and the cost of our devices, security, and capacity. 11.2 is looking at the ongoing professional development specific to technology. You guys know you've had plenty of presentations by Laura, amazing presentations by Laura around how we have prepared our teachers to use technology in the classroom. As you guys remember, during COVID, we deployed 18,000 computers to students over a matter of 2 weeks, and to teachers also, and then all of the new software that we purchased during that time, and we said, make it work, we're gonna be teachers, and now we're in a one-to-one environment. So the professional development, it typically comes in advance of learning something new, came during the learning. And our teachers were rock stars with that, as were our students that did very, very well. But we're just making sure that as we continue to commit to having technology in our classrooms, we're also committing to ensuring that we're using them with fidelity. So we're using the research that tells us X amount of minutes by age level, X amount of minutes by content area, so that we're using technology as a tool, not as the teacher, and that we just really are having that nice balance of when we use technology and when we don't use technology in learning. So continuing that PD. And then that K-12 curriculum focused on the technology learning skills, was on 30-day display, looking for approval, and then validating that next year. And then the final goal out of technology is specific to safe learning environments and opportunities in technology. 12.1, not to go too much into this, but really looking at the stability and the security of our technology, ensuring that what happens with our technology in the hands of both all of our students, in the hands of our teachers, and also the systems that we use within technology, that we are assessing that stability and security. Earlier this year, the board approved the cybersecurity position. So that contributes to really just making sure that we're in a safe and secure environment in terms of our technology across the district. And then that final 12.2 is the evaluation of the digital tools and the subscriptions. We've spent a full year this year in curriculum and instruction, pulling together all of the software that the district has purchased over the last few years, taking a look at all of the contracts, taking a look at all of the due dates, taking a look at all of the usage, and taking a look at the success of the software that we purchased. Because pre-COVID, our software budget was manageable. Post-COVID, our software budget has increased significantly. So we really spent a good year working with finance, looking at our technology budget, and we'll continue that just to make sure that the software that we purchase, that we're spending money on, that we're ensuring that it's being used in the classroom with fidelity and not just there sitting on a laptop and not being used. So that is that's ongoing. And then also looking at that compliance, that our student privacy and our district privacy, it's really around our student privacy. Anything that we purchase software-wise that we use in the classroom, we have to ensure that our student data is protected. Some vendors sell that to third party. They sell the information. The federal government no longer allows that. So the SOPA is that protection of student privacy in that information, student information. So that's what technology and CNI has been working on and will continue to work on.
You know, I keep hoping we change the order up because I feel like it's so hard to follow. Finance and facilities, we looked at two main goals that came out of the strategic plan. The first was to develop long-term enrollment projections to help predict the changes in our student population and then determine if redistricting is necessary while also taking a focus and look at the safe and modified facilities as needed. So really, do we have the right number of students in each building, and are those buildings safe and secure for our families? Step one of that was implementing a plan to support our district safety committee's recommendations through collaboration, training, and building improvements. This was one where I used a couple different symbols by each goal. We put a check mark there, but it's really a check mark for year one, because this is something that will be an annual process. We were able to listen to the committee recommendations, to work to find the money to support the projects that were recommended and brought forward. And you can see that is a picture of Indian Trail. The weekend after school had dismissed, and what you're looking at there is the first step in building that new secure vestibule, was tearing out the flooring and removing the asbestos from underneath the flooring. And that process is already complete. So we are rolling on that. We have started the installation of the hardware for the double buzz doors, and looking forward to seeing all of the entryways and the other plans secured and completed throughout the summer.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So for that picture, is that looking towards the current entrance? Is that up in the left?
Yes. So that would be, if you think where the main office is, looking towards the entrance.
Thank you.
Step two was enhancing our annual facilities master plan to better address building needs. And what we heard from a lot of the members of the committee was there was this process for years that items would make it onto the 5-year master facilities plan, and 5 years later, they would remain 3 years out on the master facilities plan because something would always trump it. So Curtis Alsop and myself this year, following the strategic plan, said, okay, how do we make this a more collaborative process and listen to what our buildings and what our building leaders are telling us they need from each building, while also addressing what you don't see in the HVAC behind the walls and the plumbing and the piping. So we started on that collaborative process, and then when we brought it forward to our site and finance committee, we tried to make it more visual this year and more, not just here's this extensive spreadsheet of changes and improvements we need across the building, but what does all of that mean? What does it look like? The why to the what of what we've been presenting. In the work in progress for step 3 is developing long-term enrollment projections to help predict growth of our student population. We have I think Sandy Bressers does a tremendous job in the transportation department of the 1-year projections and knowing what our buildings will look like from 1 year to the next year. But with all of the development we're seeing in Plainfield and the growth and what that could mean 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line, and looking at life growth rates, the district will go out and hire a demographer to do that. So that process will start with an RFP for demographer services, and then vetting different companies that do this and getting referrals from other districts. And that is something that the district has started to plan for with the goal of a winter 23 inclusion. And then the next two are ones that really just cycle and are continual. The first is continuing to review and improve our financial efficiencies as a district, the systems and platforms that we use to ensure that the funding is available to support district goals. And that happens in a lot of different ways. It can be looking at the companies that we invest money with to see who has best interest rates on a different vehicle at any given time that we have money to invest. It can be we had you remember kind of a milder winter, and we had this period of time where at home you didn't have to run your heater, but you didn't have to run your air conditioner either. You just open the windows and be calm for about a week. Well, the markets dropped substantially, and we took advantage of that. We locked our gas pricing in for the year at that rate, and that'll save several $100,000 over the next year and a half. Those little efficiencies all start to add up. So when a need or a goal for the district arises, we don't have to say we don't have the money for that, but we don't want to let money be the barrier time. Can't always say yes, but on the ones that are very key, we'd like the district to have that ability to focus. And then finally, reviewing our facility management procedures to ensure best practices are being used to keep our buildings up to date and repairs and remodels are happening timely, including monitoring lead times of vendors and equipment. It used to be we could bring you a facilities plan in November or December, go out to bid in March, and we could start construction 2 months later when school lets out. Now we're bringing projects forward to our site and finance committee, looking for approval a year in advance because of lead times of materials, because of the planning times that it takes to make sure that we don't start a project that weekend school ends and that it prevents school from opening on time at the end of the summer. We need to make sure that all of our construction and the different projects that we have planned are able to be completed and not interfere with the number one goal we have, which is to educate students. Goal 2 was determine how our current ESSERS funded programs align with our long-term goals, and then make determinations on which programs have been successful and should be continued. You'll see a lot of check marks here because ESSERS is expiring. Some of the ESSERS 1 has expired. ESSERS 2 will expire September of 23, and ESSERS 3 September of 24. So this was one that we got the direction and just got to go. And that started with a really collaborative process with our whole cabinet here in looking at all of the different costs of ESSERS and where the money either is spent or is planning to be spent. The image at the bottom is taken, ISB created an ESSERS funding dashboard you can go to, and it gives you a real-time update of where different dollars have been expended, and there's a lot of different reports you can pull out of that. This is just one of the many views you can take from that tool. Then we had to determine how our current ESSERS funded programs align with the long-term goals of the district. What are the programs that have seen success that we feel strongly need to continue? Then determine the programs that ESSERS had covered that are no longer needed. We no longer need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on hand sanitizer and PPE to keep our buildings clean. We know that now there's other more effective and cost-effective ways to protect ourselves and protect our students. Then we determine if any of the ESSERS funded programs were previously funded by a prior district budget. Did we have positions or programming that was in place that we shifted to ESSERS that we then could shift back into a department budget? Identify areas of savings in order to support the fiscal continuation of the ESSERS programs. And that goes back to really what we talked about in the first slide, of looking at all the ways we can save money or maximize our dollars to make sure that we have the money available for our students to continue those programs. And then finally make our budget adjustments, and you'll see that brought forward this month with the tentative budget for the programs that are deemed essential and needing to continue. And then the other visual you'll have here is the entrance to Plainfield Central High School. If you walk in into Plainfield Central 1 month ago, you might have saw the new lighting that's been installed with the new HVAC that's been in. If you try to walk into Plainfield Central right now, they will tell you no unless you have a hard hat and a big lit vest, because we have completely opened the building up for phase 2 of that HVAC renovation. But again, ESSERS made that possible for a 4-year project to be done in 2 years. And now the HVAC and the air quality will be much improved at the conclusion of this summer, Plainfield Central. There any questions on these 2 slides?
And just briefly on the community relations piece of it, we do have to adjust some of the timelines here related to community engagement. We would tell you that our plan, this will be adjusted through the fall, just due to some things we have to continue to work on. We will say one thing that we do in our PPA meeting coming up is we have vetted a website vendor, looked at a number of proposals there, and so we're going to bring a recommendation next week related to a new website. The earliest we would start it would be next January. So we would not start the school year with this, it would be mid-year, so to speak. And then we've looked at a number of vendors. You'll hear everything more specific next week, but there's really like 3 primary vendors that are listed. The top 2 are who we narrowed it down to and did some pieces there. And then really, worst case, it would be in 2 years it would start, but after conversations with a number of folks, we actually think a mid-year start for the website works well based on training. Because you got all your people, you have all your staff already here, and then over the summer, training is a little more difficult. So we will update these timelines, and then what we will do before we start the year, we'll change some of these. For example, As you noticed, Tony's had checks on pretty much all the ESSER's pieces of it. If you remember, we had 5 goals and then we narrowed it down to 2. And then like in his case, some of those are done, so we'll put another one up there for your review as well. So we'll show you all the 5 listed goals again. I really appreciate the audience and the board's patience and attention to this. A lot of work has gone into play. We know it's a pretty kind of a heavy, long topic, but we thought we had a thinner agenda that would work well for tonight. So thank you for your presentations. If you have any other questions along the way, please feel free to shoot them to us. What will happen is before we start school, we'll get another version of this, kind of where we're at and what we do. But prior to that, you'll see the list of the 5 goals and how do we get the top 2. So, any questions, anything to add?
And you may have already been thinking this for the next update, but so that we don't have to rehash the ones that are already completed, if there's maybe someone you can show, this was completed last time, we don't need to discuss it again, that'll probably, make things a little easier on everybody.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other items for the board information category? All right, do we have any unfinished business?
Nope.
Any new business?
Nope.
Freedom of information requests.
We've received 2 freedom of information requests since the last Board of Education meeting. Rosetta Atterbury, community member, all incidents such as suspension, detention, or disciplinary write-ups from the following dates: 3/22, 3/24, 3/27, 4/25, and 5/11. Received 5/23, due May 31st, completed May 30th, 2023. Sherry Reed from Smart Procure, any and all purchasing records from 02/24/23 to current, specifically purchase order number. If purchase orders are not used, a comparable substitute is acceptable. Purchase date, line item details, line item quantity, line item price, vendor ID, number, name, address, contact person, and their email address. Received May 23, due May 31, completed May 31st.
Any announcements or scheduled activities?
Yes, so next Monday, June 19th is a holiday, Juneteenth, all school buildings are closed. Board committees are Wednesday, June 21st at the Administrative Center, PPA at 6, Curriculum Tech at 6:30, Finance at 8, and the next Board of Education meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 26th here at the Administration Center.
May I have a motion to, we have no need for a second closed session, sorry, we need for a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second.
So it's Tony's motion, and our second, you may call roll.
Yeah. Ms. Simon,
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Dr. Mack,
Yeah.
Ms. Morrow,
Yes.
Ms. Roach.
Yes, we are adjourned.